United Nations in India, Mr. Shombi Shah, my colleague in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Joint Secretary Kunal Kumar, Director of the National Institute of Urban Affairs, Mr. Hitesh Vaidya, all dignitaries, entrepreneurs, smart city representatives, and other guests and friends who have joined us this afternoon. I am delighted to be with you here and to welcome you to the Smart Cities Smart Solutions Challenge and Inclusive Cities Awards of 2022. It is a matter of regret for me that I could not be present here when the presentations were made by the shortlisted entrepreneurs, but I did get an overview of the kind of presentations when I was being briefed and I was preparing for this event. For me to say that I'm impressed by the creative capacity of the solutions as well as their potential to change the lives of those who need that help would be an understatement. Whether it is early stage innovation, market-ready solutions or solutions that have already been implemented, I think we are all agreed that these product offerings can and will quantifiably improve the quality of the life of persons with disabilities in India. And as I was hearing the resident coordinator of the UN speak about this, it struck me that the potential for some of these solutions, if not all of them, to be replicated on a South-South basis across other developing countries of the world is, I think, immense. I found some of the shortlisted solutions such as wearable devices, personal assistive technologies, translation software, digital maps, and mobility devices for the disabled to be extremely well conceived and thought through. A lesson that most of us have learned, and I'm a little older than most of you, is that the best solutions are always those that are simple, those that cater to specific points, especially the pain points, those that have clear benefits and are widely accepted by users. In fact, if they are simple and can provide relief to the pain points, they will have much greater acceptability and salability. All these shortlisted solutions do have these characteristics, and I am very confident that given the right support, these can achieve, the solutions can achieve both growth and the required commercial success. I was also very pleased to see two cities under the Smart Cities mission, Belgavi and Sagar. These two have developed solutions that have been implemented. While Belgavi has developed a comprehensive tool for education and literacy for low-income families, and I had the privilege of arriving when that presentation was being made. Sagar has developed the Nirbhaya app to enhance women's safety in the city. One of the points I never hesitated in repeating was that the integrated command and control centers of these smart cities, which are the nerve centers, they played a fantastic role and made a major contribution during the pandemic. They served as war rooms, but also in the incubation of these new solutions, especially for those who are underprivileged. You heard the term used, marginal communities. They will play a major role. And I want to compliment the project director of the Smart Cities mission. He had promised me, and I stuck my neck out on that basis, that by 15th August, all 100 smart cities in the country would have fully functional integrated command and control center. So congratulations, Kunal. I know we have been working on this for a while, but it is a matter of common knowledge that the urban sector, on which a concerted effort was made for a transformative phase to begin, and which did start after Mr. Modi, Honorable Prime Minister, assumed responsibility in Delhi after May 2014. Some of what you see happening around you, I mean the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, both the rural and the urban combined, 3 crore home sanction, the Swachh Bharat mission, the Amrut 1 and 2, Swachh Bharat mission 1 and 2, the developments which you will see unfolding in Delhi in the next few days. All these are not just major landmarks, but they represent a paradigmatic shift in the approach towards urban development. And I'm very pleased that the National Institute of Urban Affairs is playing a very important role, not only in backstopping, but also taking this forward. So I want to thank also the jury for this. You were able to collect eminent persons who have both domain knowledge and working experience, and you were able to collect them and have these shortlisted solutions and awards. Somebody put a yellow slip on my papers this morning, which I just saw, and said that when this Smart Solutions Challenge was launched on 28th April, they gave me the name of the chief guest then. Somebody I've known for close to 50 years. So I think it's a remarkable coincidence that Lakshmi was the chief guest when the challenge was launched, and I'm here today when we have completed that cycle. This use of technology today and these smart city solutions are being focused on those of our citizens who have some form of disability. According to the 2011 census, approximately 26.8 million people in India live with disabilities, of which about 8 million live in urban areas. What is noteworthy is that these 26.8 million people constitute about 2.21% of India's population. This figure is significantly lower than the global average of 15% or so that the World Health Organization regards as being the share of persons with disabilities. I was very impressed. Some of those who came to receive the awards are able to and were able to make these significant contributions whilst themselves having to encounter the disadvantage which flows from these disabilities. So my congratulations to them and all the award winners. We in India expanded the list of recognized disabilities from 7 to 21 after the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act of 2016 was passed. This implies that a significantly higher number of people live with some form of disability in India than was earlier estimated. The new census will give a truer picture of this reality very soon. There is a key takeaway, I believe, from these statistics. Many people perhaps don't want to disclose their disabilities out of a sense of hesitation or even fear. In our own personal lives, we know of family, friends and colleagues who soldier on in their lives despite deep discomfort, because it is easier to live with the pain than the stigma. There is another, more hard-hitting truth here. Even if the majority of the population does not have a disability today, make no mistake, they will face impairment or illness in old age that can reduce our quality of life. Therefore, there is no need to feel any hesitation. And I believe the issue of stigma is completely unwarranted. A mature and a humane society should deal with this in a very positive and comforting way. Disability as a term is often interpreted too narrowly. While there is no single definition of disability, it is important to grasp that the full meaning of the term and its implications in daily life. If there are people who are forced to hide in their homes or shy away from expressing themselves and contributing to society, then they are living with some form of disability. We must find policy solution and build infrastructure that caters to these people as well. And that is something that we are committed to. It is estimated that nearly 70% of those who need assistive technology do not have access to it. These facts mean that persons living with disabilities are constantly competing just to gain access to essential resources. The lack of accessibility curtails their access to transport services, sanitation, health, education, and other public services. As a result, most vulnerable populations could get excluded. I can say with a degree of great satisfaction that in the 5 years or so that I have been associated with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and I complete, I believe, 5 years in another day or so, all the steps that we have taken, the design of new buildings, the smart cities, there are specific and extreme compliance. It's not that people have a choice. They don't have a choice. So if somebody is there with a assisted mobility requirement like a wheelchair, there has to be a ramp, as you see here. If you have to go into public transport, there have to be provisions. But these are remedial steps that societies take, not through merely legislative action as we have taken in India, but also through what I call an attitudinal change, which comes when those of us who have a responsibility and the privilege of being associated with these issues make it a point to never miss an opportunity to emphasize their relevance. This is precisely why we need universal design. It is an urgent need of our society, and especially in our cities, where the level of exclusion is profound. The principle of leaving no one behind, which is the motto of the Sustainable Development Goals, is entirely applicable here. More specifically, moving towards universal design will help in achieving target 11.7 of the SDGs, which is that by 2030, provide universal access to safe, inclusive, and accessible green and public spaces for women and children, older persons, and persons with disabilities. For those of you who have had to listen to me on earlier occasions, I have always said that the Sustainable Development Goals in fact reflect the philosophy that the Modi government had already put into place well before the Sustainable Development Goals or Agenda 2030 were implemented by the UN, which is moving from Sarvodaya to Antyodaya, which, as I just said, leaving no one behind, or put in another way, to the poorest first, to the farthest first. Today, there is no issue on whether the 2030 agenda will be implemented or not. When the SDGs were being negotiated and I had the privilege of representing India at the UN, I had always said that the success of the SDGs will come because they will succeed in India. And today it is with a degree of confidence that I can tell you, and since my ministry is associated with several of the 17 goals that comprise the SDGs will succeed. And we have evidence of that around. The SDGs were implemented 2016 onwards. It's been, 6 years? We still have 8 years to go. There's a lot of work, but I think the vigor, the commitment and dedication with which the Modi government is implementing all the SDGs will not only help in the transformation of India, which is currently experiencing that transformation, but it will also ensure that the SDGs by themselves succeed. Because the success of the SDGs in a country of India's size, I don't mean just population, but I mean the developmental challenges, is what will ensure the ultimate success. The Indian government's PWD Act of 1995 demonstrated that a rights-based approach was put into practice before the global movement. I'm not trying to score political points, but the sheer calendar of sequentiality will tell you that this has been part of our philosophy since then. The Modi government further strengthened India's commitment by promulgating the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. The bill emphasized the concept of safety and integrity for persons with disabilities, along with inclusion and accessibility. Some notable examples of the initiatives undertaken include the Sugamya Bharat campaign, also known as the Accessible India campaign, which was launched in 2015. Over 43 lakh e-UDID, unique disability ID cards, have been issued to persons with disabilities. Nearly 150,000 persons with disabilities have benefited from the skill development initiative. Even as the government is strengthening fundamental rights for persons with disabilities, greater emphasis is being laid on the importance of those fundamental rights. Duties. Rights may have legal protection, but they need citizen ownership to become universally accepted. I mean, this is a point I just made, that you can get the best legislation, but its ultimate success will depend on whether that policy which comes from the legislation becomes a people's movement. That was the case in the Swachhta campaign, where a project, a policy of the government became a Jan Andolan, and that is also our experience elsewhere. This is what the Prime Minister sought from every Indian when he spoke of the Panch Pran, to make India a developed country by 2047 in his recent Indian Independence Day address. The Prime Minister encouraged Indians to perform their duties responsibly and faithfully, and develop a sensitivity within themselves to act for the betterment of fellow Indians. It is an attitude that we must imbibe with respect to disability as well, because I believe sensitivity to disability is the fundamental anchor on which the change will come. Until we find that sense of duty within, all the other efforts will remain only half successful. Our citizens need citizen-centric and participatory solutions that create an ecosystem where Indians are more empathetic to the needs of persons with disabilities. There is also clear demand for it. Assistive technology, in particular, already has market viability in India. We must capitalize on these trends to build accessible and inclusive urban spaces. I must commend the National Institute of Urban Affairs and the United Nations in India for conceptualizing the Smart Solutions Challenge and Inclusive Cities Awards. It is an initiative that not only addresses issues regarding city-level accessibility, but also creates a much-needed policy space where answers can be found to the challenges faced by persons of disability. This challenge has promoted solutions that can be easily adapted or replicated by cities across the country. it is clear to see that the jury, which includes persons with disabilities, have examined the solutions deeply. I would like to conclude by thanking all those who have made this smart solutions challenge a reality from the point of its conceptualization, its commencement, and finally the selection of the shortlisted solutions provided to where we have reached today. I have absolutely no doubt that these solutions, and indeed some of the other ones, are going to be roaring successes. I'm sure they will also get the commercial encouragement that they deserve, and I believe their replicability is not just a pan-India canvas, but it could be done across the world, and on that I'm sure the UN system and our South-South approaches would want to have a good look at it. Thank you very much. Namaskar.